Well, it's been a few weeks since I've done a video, and I'm going to try to do more videos more frequently. If you've seen my channel or see the history, you'll see the backsplash. It's behind me here in the kitchen. This is what I was doing, and that was my first video series. And I've taken a little break with that. I haven't done anything for a little bit, and I'm going to finish it and finish that video series. But in the meantime, I'm doing something else that's really fun. A couple weeks ago, I went to a gun show. I live here in Utah. And at the gun show, I decided it was about time I did a new gun project. And you see it here on the table in front of me. And very common. You see millions of videos online with this type of gun, black gun, ARs. This one is different in the aspect that it's an AR-10. This gun shoots the 308 round rather than the 223 or 5.56 round. I've always wanted an AR-10. Years back I had an M14 and I really like that gun. I still have a lot of ammo and stuff for it, and I thought, well, I want another 308 platform. So I'm kind of halfway through this project and I haven't made any videos on it yet, but decided to go ahead and catch you up and finish it out on a video so you guys can see what I've done, and maybe it'll help you with what you've done, or just enjoy watching. So this is the lower that I put together, and they call this an 80% lower. When it comes, it doesn't have this part cut out, and I'll get closer so you can see. Right here, if we can focus, it's all filled with metal in this lower piece, and it doesn't have a serial number or anything on it. You can just buy them. You don't have to go through checks or anything like that. I don't know, people are all about thinking the government's keeping track of what they're doing. So if you feel more comfortable about this, the only thing with these is you can never sell them. Once you make them, it's yours for life. And anyway, to catch you up, this is what I did. I took this and machined it out. Took a mill, cut it all out, and all the components in here. Let's see if we can get it to focus here. All the components inside here, where the trigger comes out the bottom, I put all these in here. So after I milled them out, I mill out these holes to put the pins through and put all this in, put the grip on it, put the stock on it, and this is kind of where I left it a little while ago. Now, I just got back from another gun show and I got the rest of the components that I need to put this rifle together, including this upper. And maybe you can see, maybe not, there's a few stickers on here. I thought it was a pretty reasonable price. I found this, and I've been talking to a guy that I got some of these lower parts from at the last gun show, and he had these uppers, and they're decent uppers. They got Anderson barrels. Anyway, this is an 18-inch. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, I got this upper for $5.25. So good deal on an upper. 308. I'll get the sticker off later. So now what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and I might even just pop this on just to see how well it fits. I haven't put it on yet. You're going to be here witnessing the very first time it's put on the lower that I made. Let's go for it. If I can get these pins out. I need something. These rear pins sometimes, well, any of them sometimes are kind of stiff or hard to get out. They've got detents in them that keep them from sliding open when you're using the firearm. But with a little, little persuasion, usually they come out. Well, shouldn't be like that. Got my trusty hammer. Let's see what's going on. having trouble with the rear pin, and maybe I'll edit this part out, maybe I won't. It got to the point where now I'm worried about scratching the beautiful kitchen table. I'm sure my wife doesn't want me to be doing this here anyway, but I am starting to disassemble the lower that I showed you I put together. The grip goes on here with a spring and I think they call it a detent, a little piece that slides up into the bottom of this that holds the selector from safe to fire in the right position. That comes all apart when you take the grip off, and it exposes a little Allen head screw that's holding the spring and everything in for this rear pin. And we actually have to go get a Allen wrench that's really tiny to fit this, so I'll be back in 1 sec, and we'll take that and the spring out to see if we can figure out what's up with this rear pin not coming out, because it should actually just with pulling on it come apart, and it's not. I've tapped pretty good with the hammer, so I'll be right back. And to save everyone time, don't bother putting in the comments that I should have all the tools here for the project before I start the video. I know, but here we go. Now this is going to be funny. Make sure that the spring doesn't get lost. Those springs go flying all over. It took me all of 1 minute to lose the little tiny Allen that holds the screw in here, that holds the spring in here for the detent on that rear pin. So it's on the floor. It just dropped somewhere. Hopefully. I shut the camera off because I thought it might be a long search, but it didn't take too long to find it in the carpet. But these, you can't even see it. I'm sure the camera's so far away that you can't see it, but you have to be careful with these things. This spring might go flying, this little Allen screw might go flying. And I just dropped it again. Got it. Isn't the saying, the third time's the charm? I'm trying to put this back together to see if I can get this rear pin to slide all right. I've already noticed that there's some damage on the rear pin itself. I don't know how that happened, but it makes it so it can slide out just slightly. It's not real tight. I wonder if I should do something with it. much I can do with it. So I got you guys in close to see what I've been dealing with and what the problem was. This pin right here, it is the rear pin. Here's the front one that holds the upper on. This is the rear one right here that holds the upper on. It's got a detent, a little pin that goes through this hole right here, and that little tiny hole with a spring that goes down, and it clips inside this cutout in the pin, so it makes it so when you open it up to pull the upper off, this pin won't come out all the way unless you pull the metal piece and the spring out of here. But evidently, I don't know if the spring was too long. When I cranked it down in there, I think it pushed so hard it kind of messed up my pin a little bit, and when I have it all the way in there, the spring sits out pretty far. I'm not an expert on these by any means. The whole purpose of this pin is just to keep the upper on. It goes through, the upper has a little eyelet that sits down in here and the pin goes through it. So what I'm gonna do is, I know I can get these parts, and this seems to me like this spring is just too long. I'm actually gonna cut it and put it together so it doesn't have as much tension on that spring. I've already kind of marred the pin a little bit. It's still functional. All it's got to do is hold that upper on. I'll get a new part later, but for now, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm actually going to mark this kind of how far out it sits, and then cut it down. Very simple. Done deal. This little Allen wrench, you probably can't see it. The little keeper on the end of my Allen wrench here is what's going to come in here and hold that spring in place. Hopefully I don't flip it off this time. There's not as much spring tension on it, and there it goes. That would be the 4th time I've lost that. Found it. Okay. I am going to pay attention and try my hardest this time to not lose this, and hopefully we can get this together without any more problems. Success. Now the handle sits right over this, and it'll keep that from coming out. There's not a lot of tension on it, but hopefully it's good enough now that I can get that to come out. Yeah, looks like it's good. So here we go. We've got the lower that I machined out, trigger components in there. I got to put this selector back together and the handle back on. Then we'll be ready once again to put the upper on it. The next thing I was going to do, today at the gun show I bought this ring. Now this is made to have a clip on it that you can put on a band that goes around your torso and clip onto this opening here to hold your gun. It replaces the factory one, which is right here, that doesn't have anything on it. So you can just follow along while I do this. There's a special wrench that takes this nut off. And I also actually bought a different stock on it that these factory ones wiggle a little bit, and so I'm going to see if the other one holds a little bit tighter. To get these off, it's fairly simple. You just pull hard on this pin and it comes out. Okay. New little tool. Let's see if we can get this stock off to replace that keeper. All right, I switched it back to a different view now, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. My next objective is to pull this nut off and replace the little keeper behind it with the one I just showed you that I can hook the sling onto. So I did tighten this down and actually punched it a little bit, so it might be a pain to get off. We will have to see. So the way these things work is there's a little keeper here that you can press down to get the buffer spring and out of the tube, and then you can take this apart and thread the whole thing out. I forgot to mention the tube itself is what holds the little detent in. So, oh, got it. We're good. It's that piece that I'm replacing with this. Sweet. So another thing I purchased here was a different stock. This one's supposed to be tighter. I showed you how this one wiggled on there, and hasn't even been opened. I'll tell you, this is the Mission First Tactical Minimalist stock mil-spec buffer tube. So it's supposed to have a better cheek. Well, it's supposed to be tighter on the buffer tube. Let's go ahead and try it. Now you can see the difference. It actually is quite a bit tighter. I like it. It's hard to adjust, but it's not like you're going to need to do that really quickly. I think when you're out shooting, you can just leave it at the size you want. Putting it in the safe or carrying it, I don't know, you could adjust it. It's not too bad. New stock on. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I guess the next step is probably going to be just clipping that upper on. So yeah, that rear pin's not too bad. Here we go. The moment of truth. First thing you can do, line up the front tube. Throw the pin on that, line up the rear one. Seems to fit fairly well. I can grab it and twist it a little bit. There's a little bit of movement there, but not bad. Now you can see it completed. ar10 or lr308, whatever they want to call it. It's looking good. I've got some angled sights for it that I'm going to install now. Goes on the top rail. They actually sit over here at a 45, so you can put optics on the top, and then you can angle it to do better acquisition on close range stuff. Yeah. Seems to cycle okay. I'm happy, as you can tell. I've wanted one of these for a long time. Maybe I'll have to bring the camera out and show you the first day at the range. So if you're gonna stick with me, I'm gonna grab the sights, go ahead and slap them on, see how well they fit. I'll pull these stickers off of here. If I can get them off. Looking good. Be right back. Okay, Amazon's great. You guys already know. These sights that I'm gonna throw on here, I don't even know if I got a brand on it. They're all metal. They weren't too much, if I'm remembering, 20 bucks. You'll see them here. Magpul magazine. And I think I already tested this in the lower. Everything that's 308 is a different size than the ar10 or the 223, bigger, of course, for the bigger round. These magazines have always worked great for me whenever I've used them in whatever platform. So there's the magazine, and let's open up these sights. As you can tell, it doesn't bother me too much. The sights are a different color. Kind of gives it a unique look. When you do these things, you're making your gun something that you're happy with. I knew the gun was going to be black, and so I got the whatever color they call it, tan, I don't know. But let's go ahead and put them on there. It'll sit just like that. You can get different length guards along the front, along the barrel. I think I told you this is an 18-inch barrel. This guard's like a 16-inch guard. I wanted to get one as long as possible to get this front sight out as far as possible. The farther out you can get that front sight, the more accurate you can shoot, because the distance between the front and rear sight is farther away. But let me grab a screwdriver and we'll put these things on. Like I said before, what I'm planning on doing with this rifle is putting a scope or an optic right on the top. Just because the higher caliber, it's more accurate long range, I figured it'd be fun to have some type of magnified optic on the top. And then these sights on the 45 for the close stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this together. Rear sight on. Oh well, you can see it. I'll get a little bit closer. They're at a 45, so you'd shoot straight for the optic and you angle it 45 to use the sights. And anyway, that's about done. I've got what I wanted to do today done. I don't have the optic. I do have the optic, but it's on my other AR. I'm gonna take off and put on this one. So that'll be another video, another time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I'll try to keep on making videos. All right, thanks.